tough weekend.
Our dear friend Brody Stevens, who I've known for 12 years. What a wonderful, wonderful human being.
That one caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
And I said this on my show earlier, and obviously you guys do him way better. Where it affects, and not to make it about me, where it affects me a lot is I can see the pain and the hurt of all my friends, right? Everybody. At the Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, at the Improv, everybody's affected by this because, Brody was the guy who made everyone feel good.
Yeah, he was. He was a fixture.
Dude, I had no idea that he suffered from any of this illness. I didn't have a clue. Because when I saw Brody, he was always on.
I know.
And when I first got to the Comedy Store, whatever, 2-3 years ago, and I still do this day, I always feel like I'm out of place. I don't belong there. He was always the guy who made me feel good. Always the guy who was so positive.
And also,
thank you, Brody.
so wonderfully odd.
And how about when I had that set in the belly room and he went on after, and I've never seen him do that, just straight up crowd work. I've seen his sets, but never crowd work. Yeah. And he goes on. I was like, "What's going on right now?" And they go, "You've never seen Brody do crowd work?" I'm like this? Is he bombing? He goes, "Nope, just wait." And he turns the whole room around. I told you, I came down and went, "Dude, fucking Brody."
I remember that.
Yeah, I know.
I remember that.
But you've known him for a long time.
I've known him forever, and I did 2 movies with him, The Hangovers. We flew over to Thailand together. We used to perform in Don Barris's Kennedy Overdrive. I was in an air band that you guys don't know about, but I was in an air band for 2 years. Don Barris's air band. I played all different instruments, and Brody played the drums. A lot of times he'd come out and start playing the drums, and Steve Renazizi would get up and do a spot-on Brody impersonation. It was a bummer because I'd spoken to Brody 4 days before that, and he seemed so fine. He seemed so great. And I was going to do his podcast. I was talking to his producer about doing his podcast. We were texting back and forth.
Did you know he had this mental illness?
No, I knew. No, I had no idea. I knew
Go
Brody,
to Tony Hinchcliffe.
I knew Brody had his issues, like everybody. But you don't know this. You never expect.
Not to that extent.
It
though.
bummed
Like
me
everyone
out.
has issues, but I had no idea to this extent.
It really
And
bummed
Tony
me out.
Hinchcliffe, I think his post, and I text Tony this. I thought his post made the most sense because, everyone says you're suffering from mental health, you got to get help, stuff and all that stuff. But, Tony kind of maps it out for everyone. So Tony was on stage when they told him about this. He's in London, right? And he goes, the guy calls him and goes, "Hey, I got some bad news." And he goes, "You can tell it." And they're like, "You sure you want to do this here?" So he tells him, so he had to end it early. Keep going though. Because he goes...
he was on stage and he said, "You got to call." He took a live call on stage as a joke. He said, "What happened? You sound like your friend died." He said, "He did." And he said, "You want to tell me in front of all these people?" And he took him off speaker and said, "Brody died."
So he had to end the set early.
Yeah.
Keep going. He talks about Brody specifically, though. Keep going.
It's a very long post, it looks like.
Let me see. Cubs dugout. Oh, he talks about the time Brody went to the psych ward and they showed up to support him and started doing jokes. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going?
Yeah, keep going. It might be glimpses, time, chance. All right, keep going. Keep going.
Mental health is a very real thing, man. Mental
I
health.
just thought the ego's too big. I just always figured Brody. He talks about how he had the medication. He was going through therapy. He had all the friends in the world.
We just don't know how to help some people, and that's the truth. And we're limited right now on how to help people who suffer from depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts.
There's another
We're
post
just
too. Maybe
limited.
the first one.
This is the second part.
I would imagine if you asked a lot of people that committed suicide
Keep
why,
going.
they wouldn't know either. They wouldn't have an answer for you. It's just
Here it goes. Tony, who's a phenomenal writer, but this is usually the part where the person would say, "If you know anyone with depression, call them, tell them you love them, blah, blah, blah." Well, yeah, that's true, but we did that with Brody. He was on medicine, had great doctors, had a slew of people that cared deeply about him. So it's not that. I guess if there's something to take away from all this, it's exactly how serious of a disease it is, even when someone is loved and cared for medically. We need to start really accepting mental illness as a disease like we think of cancer. Something that doesn't always kill you, but if left untreated, and it still can be treated when it's,
Yeah. He's right.
yeah, he's
As somebody who's has dealt with it in their own family and stuff, it's very frustrating and it's very, very hard because there are times when you just don't know. You don't know what to do. You as a person can't help them, and it sucks.
I can't relate to it at all because I don't know anything about it. I don't suffer from it.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of my friends do, but it's like I don't know what to do.
Somebody.
So because that when it happened with Rogan, I told Rogan, I go, dude, don't you feel like, because we were at the Improv together, and right before we went on, I go, dude, don't you feel like if you would have known about Brody, you could just went over there and saved him? And Rogan goes, doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work like that.
He goes, I'm telling you, can't.
So we were talking about this a while back about suicide, and a guy who comes to my shows periodically, I think in Seattle, and a really good guy, but he DM'd me, and he said, let me explain to you what suicidal feelings are. He said, if you've ever been in a sauna and it gets too hot, and you just get out because it's too hot, and he goes, that's what it feels like, but there's nowhere to go to.
You can't breathe.
And I went,
they said you
fuck.
can't breathe.
Yeah. He said, and so the only thing that you feel you can do is just push the exit button.
Yeah, it's like,
and I was like, oh my God.
Which
think
is
about
hard
that.
to,
think about that despair.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, it must have been so bad for him to do that. Things must have, in his mind, must have been so bad, and hopefully he's not suffering anymore and wherever he's at now. But it's like, it's such a fucking shame, man.
Yeah, that's serotonin levels. That's, who knows, man? Who knows what it is? I don't know. But I think that the reality of certain things we know is that we'll deal with this. We'll always be dealing with this until they can figure out a way to reverse engineer the brain or something. But until they can figure out what exactly happens to people.
I told, so Sam Tripoli's doing a benefit March 5th at the Comedy Store. And he, obviously he's going to have all Cody's friends on this, who are the best comedians in the world. So I told Sam and Rogan, I'm like, I don't know how to help. All my friends heard I don't know how to help.
Yeah.
So the only thing I knew to do, I can make mean-ass T-shirts. So I'm making a T-shirt to give all the staff and the
cool.
comics.
That's really cool.
It's a pretty dope Brody shirt, too.
That's really, really cool.
I don't know what else to do.
That's all you can do right now.
Yeah, I don't.
That's all you can do.
Heavy heart, though, man. I just can't fathom it.
Played D1 baseball
Arizona
too.
State.
Arizona State pitcher. Yeah.
I was when they
when Todd Phillips saw Brody
floored
Stevens. Todd Phillips, who cast him in The Hangover. Todd Phillips saw him do that 818 till I die. And Todd was like, fuck, man, I got to get him in my movie. 818 till I die. Bryan Callen's coming up to the stage. He, like me, was in The Hangover. The Hangover. Anyone recognize me? No? Great. All right. 818, ladies and gentlemen. Bryan Callen. That's how he brought it.
He was fucking great. So hilarious, man. And then how about he would do all the crowd work for the Chelsea Lately show.
Oh yeah.
For all you'd be the if you've ever been in one of those crowds, if you know it's like to be a cold opener for a crowd that doesn't want to be there. I forget who told this story. Some really good comic. I apologize for not remembering. He said they did an industry night, and I think it was at the Laugh Factory or the Improv, and all the comics you would know, huge name comics, bombed because it was just filled with agents who are just there and they think they're better. And they said all the biggest names in the world bombed.
Yeah.
And then Brody was going up next, and they go, good luck, man. It's the worst crowd ever. And he goes right at him and completely fucking boom the room.
I got a story of love.
So
we're doing a Hangover 2. And Zach Galifianakis, myself, and Bradley Cooper, everybody. It's a huge scene. There's a helicopter and everything else. And Brody, it's when the main guy gets taken down. And it turns out that Brody and all the guys around him are actually cops. It's a sting operation. They arrest what the fuck is his name? Chow, everybody.
Yeah.
And so they basically, the helicopter comes up and Brody Stevens, Zach goes, watch Brody, because as you're supposed to be a cop, you pull out your gun, right? You're amazed. You got that. So as the helicopter comes up and everything comes out, Brody has his hips out, he's low, and his hands are pushing toward, and I go, so the next take I go, what are you doing, bro? And he goes, I'm guarding him. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you know how you do in basketball? I'm making sure he doesn't get away. So Brody's literally looks like he's guarding a guy. You know how you guard a guy? Yeah, like you're guarding a guy. I was laughing so hard. I was like, and it began the sort of the thing. I go, okay, so you're a cop, so you don't want to do this. So I was giving him acting lessons. But the greatest thing about him and his innocence and his beauty is he'd be like, hey, Can you teach me? he was so open about it. He had no ego, no fucking ego at all. He just asked you a question. How would I do this in this situation?
He's hilarious.
I was like, just make sure he doesn't go anywhere. Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
that's
He
a
was so unique.
bummer.
He was really unique. He made Zach Galifianakis laugh harder. Zach called me one time and he goes, Brody Stevens is the funniest person. I hung out with him and I got a call the next day and Brody goes, Zach, Brody Stevens, after last night, I feel like we're ready to take our friendship to the next level. Okay, bye-bye. Zach was like,
He was so funny, man.
yeah, he was great. And Zach would bring Brody up after Brody would bring Zach up and Zach would be like, Brody just got his own TV show on the Smelling Channel because his nose was so big. Yeah.
Such a shame.
It's an outrage.
When you see my back ripple and I pull myself up like a chimp 30 times bang, while talking to you, why wouldn't I give that to you as
It's a
inspiration?
gift. It's a gift, really.
It's a gift.